I think as far as effectiveness in communicating the purpose for the magical realism, like literary terms they need to know, or the style of this genre. I mean, I think it's easier to give that background factual information later, after they've done the experience. Oftentimes, like, if I spend too much time prepping a lesson with history, they have no context for it. So that's always important, that the learning objective comes after their learning experience. So I think, like, for the format, to allow the students to be open to a variety of interpretations for literature, the Socratic discussion allows for multiple voices. And I like that the class allowed and kind of managed themselves and said, no, wait, let's hear from so-and-so first. No, wait, so-and-so has to have a turn. And that they're practicing that. There are times where I'll have to model it, but I try to do it subtly. I almost feel like I'm an intruder in their discussion that's going on. So you have to walk that fine balance for Socratic discussion. And it can be scary. I mean, if you've never tried it. But I think spontaneous learning moments are great.
How do you think that links to their later learning? Meeting the objectives, or even the notes, and how is it?
I think it's good practice as far as for the different learners. Some of them they have to really internalize, they have to go back and scrutinize the literature because they came in clueless. I don't know what the Birdman story was about, but by listening to their peers, their perceptions, they can go back to make that connection. I think that also mirrors like life as well, where especially with this technology world, where you're so inundated with various opinions and sources, and how do you determine which ones are credible, and how do you stand on your own opinion? So it's definitely important or applicable for sure. Whether they'll remember the term magical realism for the AP exam, I think is not so important as far as their test scores. I mean, test scores are important, but the skills of communicating and monitoring their own learning is also, I think, maybe even more important. I think it takes time to build the culture and the expectation. So other Socratic discussions might have been failures. And by taking a look at what I could have done better, so maybe giving a pop quiz to make sure that 100% of them have read, or requiring them to post their levels of questions the day before walking into the classroom has definitely helped. I've also now then included that they have to capture or borrow a phrase from the text that leads them to answer that, to ask that level of question. And so that also is evidence for me that they've read and they're now ready to learn. It's interesting, right? So the students in the first round of Socratic discussion, I had to ask for a volunteer student leader. But the second discussion, or the second half of the discussion, it just naturally flowed. And somebody took leadership, and somebody, and they asked each other. So that they manage their own behavior, I mean, that's a goal too.
Do you think that was a skill that they learned over time?
I think it's a skill that needs to be commented on. It needs to be encouraged, enforced, so that they can, they get into the expectation. But it's definitely something that you have to build at. Highly successful, very happy, very proud of their engagement, the level of engagement from all of them, and that they always leave the class saying, "This was the best class," or in the next class, "This was the best class," is proof to me.
How do you think students, maybe I should ask, what do you think about the additional information that they brought into the discussion
I thought it was interesting. So each student brought in various historical information, or they admitted to looking at Spark Notes, and they all brought in their additional info. Like, I actually did extra homework for this homework assignment. And there is no judgment, And then but you do have the students questioning each other and asking each other, well, is that okay? Is that credible? Why did you get that from Spark Notes? A little teasing going on. And that's to be expected, right? If you're going to make a choice, you have to be prepared for those kind of questions from your peers, from your organization that you represent as well. So, yeah.
So not only just engagement in the content, but also engagement in the process.
In the process as well, and I liked how they kind of took the meta approach and then applied the lessons from the story to how they, as readers of literature, are symbolic of these characters, or of trying to find these connections, or what it represents, or should it represent something. And I like that they always pull themselves out, like, that's the purpose of literature, good literature, And I don't have to say it. It comes from them. I know they will always remember these short pieces because they're so jarring to their expectation of what literature should be. They may not remember for a long time that so-and-so student brought this point up or that point, but I think they will remember how fun and the moments, the aha moments, by listening to their peers and or by exchanging perceptions. And I think that's what they will remember from this lesson. So I've not had a Socratic discussion for poetry. And maybe students love poetry. They were, in the beginning, they're like, no. But they take the same curiosity and exchange in small group discussions to deconstruct and or to understand a very complex poem. But it would be really interesting to see it done with a poem. And I wonder how long that could sustain, because poetry as well is so dense, and there's so many layers. I just think it might be interesting to apply it to that.